I'm Marc Haught, and this is my final project for EDL 955, a review of the school audit survey. I'm the District Athletic and Activities Director for the May School District. There are a variety of venues that I use to conduct our events, and so for the purpose of this project, I'm going to focus on the outdoor facilities on our North High School campus, Mays High. To begin with, these are the demographics of our school district. We are a district of just under 7,000 students, with 81% being Caucasian, 9% Hispanic, 3 Asian, 2 African American, 1% American Indian, and 4% of other ethnic backgrounds, with 29% of the students in our district on free and reduced lunch. Because I'm focusing on high school, on Mays High School, I wanted to point out some additional statistics there, dealing with 1,450 high school students in Class 6A, 22 varsity sports with 50 teams, 550 athletes. I have 9 athletic venues that I manage and 5 indoor athletic venues that I manage. Those 9 outdoor ones are the ones that I'm going to focus on for the purpose of this project. An overview of our facilities is as follows. We have tennis courts out on the east, or tennis complex out on the east edge of our campus, a soccer complex right north of those tennis fields, a football stadium located here, with adjacent to 2 football practice fields. This is our main school building and main parking lot that also services these particular venues. Back behind the school is a softball stadium, and north of that is a softball practice field, or JV stadium. This is our baseball stadium with a JV field, practice field, and this is a common restroom, concession, and ticket area that services both of these 2 particular stadiums, and these are 2 soccer practice fields. For the purposes of this study, I identified some of the positive aspects of our outdoor facilities, and then using the Safe Schools audit, I characterized some other structural irrigational issues. There are some other issues that I identified as well, but for time purposes, I just focused on these 2. So to begin with, on some of the positive elements, we are very blessed with having good athletic facilities in our district. We have a soccer stadium that has covered dugouts for the athletes. We have an elevated press box with public address. Also housing that building are rooms for officials changing and coaches storage. Seating in the stadium for 1,000, and a separate building containing concessions, restrooms, and ticket booths. Our softball complex has seating for 600, has an elevated press box that will accommodate 9, coaches storage in that building as well, with changing room for officials, surrounded by wooden fence, lighting, double batting cage, and a shared concession with the baseball stadium. The baseball stadium, like softball, has an elevated press box with seating, chairback seating in front, and total seating for the complex for 1,000, public address system, double batting cage, wooden fence, bullpens, wooden dugouts for both home and visitor, artificial turf in the bullpens, coaches changing room, and officials changing room underneath the press box, and a well-groomed and well-maintained natural playing surface. Our tennis complex has 8 courts, 4 on each particular side, with a common public viewing area in the center, a mezzanine in the center as well, with a shared concession and restroom shared with the soccer stadium that is located in this area. And our football complex, with its striking multi-ticketed iron gate entrance and seating for 6,000, press box, all-weather surface track, play clocks, 20-foot scoreboard, and artificial playing surface. Some structural issues that I identified as I walked around the facilities were, first of all, 8 to 10 gates that had come loose from their hinges and were dangling in this particular fashion. Also found 2 instances where electrical outlets were not in proper order. These outlets are at the base of the backstops and are used to plug in scoreboards and pitching machines, and here the box is just dangling by its wire. I found some instances where we had some cabinets in our concession stands that were broken and in need of repair. In ticket booths, there were 6 ceiling tiles that need to be replaced. These aren't noticeable to the public, but they help to keep the ticket booths insulated and keep bugs and other critters from entering into these workstations. And the press boxes have outside decks to them, and those decks are surrounded by fencing, and those fencings are anchored to the wooden deck in this fashion, and some of these are starting to become loose. You can see that this fence is starting to lean out, and if any pressure were put on it at all, it would sway outward. Also, there are circumstances where gates are part of that fencing in which there's no steps off of the back side here. The steps to this deck are actually off to the right. Why there is a gate here, no one knows, but if you were to open this gate and step off, you'd fall onto the concrete approximately 8 feet below. So that gate needs to be locked and or taken out altogether. And around the football stadium, there is no fencing underneath the bleachers, and we're working to fix that because during football games, kids find this as an attractive nuisance and climb on these poles and these wires, and it's a dangerous hazard for them. Another challenge that we face is keeping our fields graded in such a manner that they will drain properly, especially baseball and softball. And I would point out in this picture that when this picture was taken, there had not been any rain for 2 weeks, which brings up our next area of concern, and that is some of our irrigational challenges. Here there is a bullpen that is flooded, and that's because of a valve box that has leaked for some period of time here and has not been repaired. Here's another location where there's a multitude of flooding that has taken place due to leaky valve boxes. On this side, this is not due to flooding, but it's due to over-irrigation because the irrigation patterns are the same as they were during the hot summer months and have not been readjusted for the fall. And so this turf is flooding because of being overwatered. This picture depicts a very significant problem in our irrigation maintenance that will be pointed out in several additional pictures. It's not unusual for valves to have some issues and need to be repaired here. When that happens, the valve boxes are dug up and the valves are repaired, and then this dirt should be backfilled back in. However, this dirt has just been left in a pile, and unfortunately, this is indicative of 5 or 6 situations just on our North Campus alone. Here's another example. Here's my foot in about a 8-inch hole here, and that hole was dug out to fix this particular well. Here's the mound of dirt that came out of that hole, was never backfilled back in. So walking across here, you can't really see the hole because of the grass and creates a hazard. Here's another example of my foot's in about an 8-inch hole. There's also a lot of water around here. So there's leaking going on in this valve box, and there's a hole in addition to that. On the left picture here, here's an old wooden board covering over a valve box in which there is no appropriate cover, and also a large trench or a large hole here. And here's a sprinkler head right next to a playing surface. Athletes coming off of the field or on the edge of the field could trip or run across this. Multitude of hazards that could run into there. Another issue that I would address is deferred maintenance, and in regards to our artificial track first, and then to our artificial surface. Our artificial track on the edges of the track are that surround our football field One can see some rubber that has flaked off into the football field here. All weather tracks need to be resurfaced every 10 years or so, but they also need to be sealed to prevent this top layer decay, and a $10,000 investment here can help protect the life or extend the life of that $250,000 track. Many think that by installing an artificial surface that eliminates the costs associated with maintaining a natural surface. However, artificial surfaces will establish tears, especially around seams, around yard marks, and these need to be inspected and repaired immediately. Another maintenance process for artificial surfaces that many schools, including ours, ignore is the process of grooming. Artificial fields have a rubber infill, and that infill is going to have the tendency to compress, resulting in two significant conditions: hardening and planarity. The picture here depicts a situation where the turf has developed an uneven divot and wrinkles from wear, compaction, and the lack of grooming. The Turf Industry Manufacturers Association recommends that turf fields be groomed once for every 80 hours of use. So that's about once every 6 weeks or so, and it's imperative that the fields be measured for their impact absorption, measured in G units. When a player falls, the impact is absorbed either by the surface or the player's body, and the harder the surface, the greater amount of that impact that is absorbed by the body. A great deal of what we've learned here comes to us from the NFL. The league has determined that field surfaces having a Gmax between 80 and 150 are acceptable, but if a field exceeds 150, that field cannot be played upon for an NFL game, and they are measured prior to every single contest. We're going to see this same trickle-down effect occur in high school fields, in which we're going to need to monitor and measure Gmax ratings. On grass fields, we also have identified some poor practices in our walk-around, and it's not because of inadequate funding, nor is it staff training. It's maybe more a lack of hard-headedness here. In this particular case, we need to make sure we maintain our fields in the off-season. Even though we're not using them here, this takes a tremendous amount of work to get this field up to snuff and ready to play in the spring when they're left to grow out in these particular conditions. Also, this field has not been managed or has not been top dressed and aerified such that when we tried to drill grass in, it was able to successfully grow. This field, you can also see, is so worn down and is so hard, has not been aerated, has not been top dressed, and the Gmax rating here on this field is probably in the neighborhood of over 200, which is the level of which a skull will rupture upon impact with a windshield. Here is a field in which there has been appropriate top dressing and aerifying. This is a very lush surface, even though it looks kind of rough. It's only because it hasn't been mowed down. It's a very lush surface in which there have been best practices applied to that field. So from a curb appeal standpoint, this helps with our public relations, and here are some examples of where curb appeal can have a negative impact. If a facility is not painted properly, if dead trees aren't pulled out, if broken down equipment is not properly removed. You can see several trees that are dead here, and this piece of iron that is out on our beautiful soccer stadium that is viewable to spectators, and trash bins that aren't back behind barriers. I'll leave this as one last example. Here is a field in which there is no definition along the field here whatsoever, and just a gravel road, and we put in a concrete road and a fence, and notice the difference in curb appeal. So in closing, we look to upgrade our press box, our locker rooms, a new soccer field, and we look to have those in place in the next couple of years to increase or to enhance our athletic facilities. Thank you.